good evening. Welcome to another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. I want to thank the Lord for being here. Thank the Lord for EFT in this program, and thank the Lord for UPTV allowing me an opportunity to be once again in the studio in front of you guys in the television audience. You know, I just thank the Lord for just having a wonderful day, a full day of being able to help people, whether it was in insurance or this morning on the phone talking to multiple families about helping their loved ones in the time of a need of a funeral service, or just popping into the barbershop and being able to just converse with people throughout the community. You know, the last episode that we talked about, it was an episode about how could you rest in peace if you never lived in peace. And I got so much great response back from that particular episode and that particular program. And I thank the Lord for everybody that came up to me and said, Sean, that was a great program. Had a young man come up to me and said some things about it. He told me, he said, Sean, he said, I like the part about it's hard for the devil to hit a moving target. So that was inspiring to the young man to keep it moving. You got to always stay moving, never stay complacent in one place. You know, as we get on with our programs today, my mom used to always say, wrong will follow you, but right does too. And I think that's a great topic to go into for our segment on today, is that wrong will follow you, but right also does too. And it's about choices, and it's about choices that you're making. And then when we get into some of these episodes and some of these topics that we'll talk about once again today, you know, we had so much stuff happening in our community. And we got some stuff to talk about school boards. We got stuff to talk about violence throughout the community, shootings throughout the community, things we just witnessed, heard about throughout our community, and just want to be able to address those topics and kind of clear some things up. First thing I would like to talk about is we want to go into a segment about the violence and the shootings that have been happening in the community. I think it was probably a couple weeks ago, violent shooting happened into the Garden Hills neighborhood, and I thank the Lord for Patricia Avery, Councilman Kyles, Carol Ammons, Pastor Johnson, Mayor Don Gerard, the city manager, Dorothy David. So many different people came together at such a short notice to be able to address that issue and to be able to love on families over in the Garden Hills neighborhood and let them know that we're concerned, that everyone's concerned about their safety, their families, their well-being, their way of life. And so as we did that, Patricia gave me a call, and she said early that morning, before we did the prayer walk, well, she called me, she said, Sean, she said, I've tossed and turned all night, and God's been telling me that we need to do something. We need to say something. We need to let the community know something. And I said, Patricia, whatever you need me to do, I'll do. And so what we did is we organized a prayer and a walk. After making that conversation with her, I got another call from Pastor Johnson saying, hey man, this happened on my watch. This happened in my neighborhood. This happened around our church, and we need to be affiliated. And he said, man, what we're going to do tonight, and what my plan and my vision is that God has given me, is to shut down Bible class for tonight, shut down our regular prayer on a Wednesday night. And I thought that was so profound and so significant, because most of the time we're so used to doing what we used to do. We don't like to change it up. I for years attended church services, attended churches, and attended and affiliated with many pastors and ministers. And we're so structured and set to a certain way that we do things. But he went outside the box that evening to show that he loves people, he loves the community, and he wanted to be a leader. And that's what leadership is about. Sometimes we got to change it. Sometimes we got to go with the flow. We got to go with what God has given us to be able to move forward. And so as we organized that, and I got in touch with big shots out to Chief Cobbs and the rest of his staff, Captain Gallo, just so many different people that was inside the police department that said, whatever you need me to do, Sean. And so we met up over at the Garden Hills neighborhood about 6:15, and what such a powerful prayer. I mean, we didn't know that the young man's brother was going to walk over there, and his two brothers walked over there, and it was something that they needed. See, a lot of times we ignore what people need. And at that time, they needed somebody to tell them, you know, retaliation isn't it. Love is where it's at. And we need to love on each other. And that was what it was. I mean, it was just tearful. But as we walked through that neighborhood, and as you know, news people took pictures and interviews and things of that nature, we saw neighbors that had probably been landlocked in that community for a long time. That's seniors in that community, and that's diverse in that community, because it's a very diverse community. And a lot of times we say the Garden Hills neighborhood, we think just African American, but it's a multicultural neighborhood. And so when we walked through that neighborhood, we had people coming outside that were waving their hands and clapping and walking out, joining us. You know, a lot of times, you know, as being leaders, we have to lead. And once people see us leading, other people will follow. And so as we led through the neighborhood, we picked up one or two, we picked up 3 or 4. The next thing you know, we went from about 80 to 90 to 100 to about 150 to 160 people walking through a neighborhood and sharing with each other. Big shouts out to Pastor Nash that came out. I mean, he stopped what he was doing that night, him and his wife, and came and jumped in, and Pastor Parks and his congregation, they shut it down that night and they teamed up. So as we start collabing together, which I always know that our community could do, is once we all get together, what a time, what a time, what a time. But we can't wait till we get to heaven. God got to see our example right here on earth. What's that going to look like? Or can you get together with your neighbors here right in your community? And sometimes tragedies happen. I remember looking at a Facebook post here some months ago, as so many people have transitioned into the next life. You know, as we have lost a lot of young people just from the beginning of the year to this point. I've lost close friends and close loved ones that we know through the community that were great people. But sometimes God takes the best flowers out of our lives, the most significant people out of our lives, just to pull our coattail, to say, can you do it? Can you get together? Can you change your lives? You know, can you straighten up what's been wronged? And as we talk about, you know, right follows you and wrong does too. We can always correct it and make things right. So when I talk to families and I say, well, you know, I know you haven't talked to your aunt in a long time, and I know things haven't been good, and we're dealing with the loss of a loved one. Sometimes it's kind of structured, and God has his own way of doing things, that now you're forced to go talk to an aunt. You're forced to go talk to an uncle, a cousin, a brother, or a sister, to be able to get that loved one to the final resting place. And so sometimes you shouldn't have to wait until that tragical moment happens, or that loss of a loved one that's so significant, that blended everybody together. Because sometimes there's some people that they're right in the middle. They love each and every one of you. And it's time for us to start loving on each other. And that's what communities developed on. And as we've seen some of the tragedies that have happened, you know, not everybody's feeling love in the community. You know, we're not getting out to these violent criminals before they develop this violent behavior, and that start demonstrating that type of behavior out in the community. And so once we ignore our job as leaders, once we ignore our job as parents, once we ignore our job as an uncle and an aunt, then we allow the community to suffer behind it. And I remember back in the day, and I'm a stickler to back in the day, what the blueprint was, that it was an uncle or aunt or cousin or even just a neighbor that was a neighbor down the street. Say, hey man, don't do that. Young lady, don't do that. Let's straighten it up. You're a better person than that. You know, God didn't put you on this earth for that. And so as we talk about right and wrong, you know, making your wrongs right and making better choices, you know, we all have an opportunity to change things. And I think it's high time that we grasp that opportunity to make a big difference in our community. You know, we looked at a shooting on yesterday that had happened in the Urbana neighborhood. And I think the headlines of the newspaper this morning said, so sad. And so now we're looking at headlines in our local newspaper over multiple shootings and people being shot, luckily not killed sometimes, but just what makes you go to that extreme to where you can take a life that you never gave? What makes you go to an extreme where you can't forgive? You know, even when it's come to a monetary, when it's a monetary value established to it. You know, we've all lost something. We all had something stolen from us, you know, but it takes a better person and a bigger person to say, well, you know, I'm going to let God take care of that and I'm going to keep moving forward. Because if you hold on to it and you grasp onto it, the devil can play in the details. And each one of us has that devil that could play a role. You got God on this side, and you got the devil on this side, and he's in your ear, and he's playing toward anger and your hurts and everything that haven't went right. And so it make you make a choice. And so that choice is, do I go retaliate? Do I go revenge? Do I just blow up at this moment? But see what keeps you grounded. This is what keeps you grounded. And I always like putting it into a biblical state or a Christian state. Is that when you go back to the rock, you go into a prayer mode. You say woosha. As I was riding over today, and I said woosha. Slow down a little bit. We got to slow down a little bit. Don't let the devil get the best of you. Next thing you know, you end up somewhere you never want to be. You end up in a position that you never want to be in. So and as a community, we love on everybody. And so I remember some incidents with a young man and that tragical incident. And I remember, you know, just him coming to me and saying, Sean, you know, man, he said, man, I'm sorry. I said, man, don't worry about that, man. I forgive you. I love you. We got to get past stuff, man. You got to love on folks. Even when sometimes it don't seem as though you could love on them. But love on them anyway. Because in the end, it makes them better. And it makes you better. And that's what we're trying to get to. A better place is what I talked about in the last segment. How can you rest in peace if you never lived in peace? We got to get to a point where we're trying to establish peace in our lives. That's a whole nother level of thinking. It makes you feel better. It makes you sleep better at night when you know you did all you can do. You know, you took it to God and you prayed about it and you threw it on the altar and you say, hey, man, I did everything I could possibly do to make things better. And that's what it's all about. You know, I talked about cause and I talked about some things, but I wrote down cause and effect. And sometimes, you know, it's a cause and effect behind everything. We did that demonstration in school over at Urbana High School. Big shouts out to all the Urbana Tigers out there, you know, especially the people that graduated in 1987. Whoa. You know, that just, you know, those were just a great time period in my life, you know, because we had some great people that helped establish things in my life. And so, and it was people like Ducky and people like Miss Utley and people, you know, that was just around us in those segments that just extended family. They made us extended family. So, and so you don't have to be the biological, you know, bloodline of anybody just to say, man, correct that. You're a better person than that. You know, I was, as I go to my phone, we so high tech nowadays, but as I go to my phone, I was reading my daily word this morning. And what the daily word said this morning, it said, when tragedy strikes, questions follow. Our loss of a loved one may lead to us to ask God and a number of questions. Why did you let this happen? Was this my fault? Don't you care about my pain? Believe, and it's going on to say, believe me, as a grieving father, and the author of this was a grieving father, but as like me, you know, a grieving friend, you know, a grieving brother to brothers that have got tragically killed, or a sister that might have died or something. I can feel myself in this article, and it's saying, it's going on to say, you know, as he's talking about, he says, believe in me, as the grieving of a father of a teenager who died tragically. I've asked this very question. The book of Job records the questions asked toward Job as he sat down with a friend to his lament his suffering. He had lost his family as well as his health and his possessions. At one point he asks, why is the light given to whom who is in misery and life to the bitter of the soul. Later he asked the question, what strength do I have that I should hope? And does it seem it good to you that may have stood near to the stone place too early and asked similar questions? Let me throw on this here. Bring it down a little bit. Got to bring it down a little bit. But when you read all the way to the end of the book, you are surprised when God responds to Job and says, he does it in an unexpected way. He turns the table and asks the questions to Job's, different questions that show his wisdom and his sovereignty, questions about his magnificent creation, the earth and the stars and the sea, and the questions of all points to this is God is a sovereign God, is a powerful God. God is love, and God knows what he's doing. And what is really telling me in that passage is that even during our times of tragedy, even during our times of loss of a loved one, even when we're doing bad, you know, it might be the loss of a job. It might be the loss of friendship. You know, it could be the loss of multiple different things, but God knows what's going on. And so even though we're feeling, you know, one of my close friends said, he said sometimes when you lose, you still win. Sometimes you lose something, but you still gain something. And you have to have strong faith that you can come out of it. And that's what you gain through all that. You know, as we had tragedies happen in our community, and as we move forward and you heard me talk about it many times, we transitioned. We got a new mayor, and Mayor Don Gerard, and I thank the Lord for Mayor Gerard and his participation within the African-American community. You know, Chief Cobb and his leadership in the Champaign Police Department and changing things. You know, Dorothy David and her insight and her managerial skills with our city. You know, things are changing. You know, as we talked about yesterday during Don's campaign initiation interview with a lot of news reporters and things of that nature, we talked about how unemployment rate is down and how job creation is up and how businesses are thriving and things of that nature. What we have to do is figure out what we fit into the equation at. If everything's doing so much better, then why are a lot of us so hurt? Why have a lot of us have moved forward? See, a lot of times the devil want to hold us to our past. And so we're stuck in the past. So we're still on 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. But I'm here to tell you, you have to move forward. Let that has been gone, let it go. And then start moving forward in your lives so you can start moving forward, because most of the time we're attached to somebody. And so when we're not forward movers, they're not forward movers. Everybody's stuck. So then when you get around other people, hurt people start hurting people. And so we can't move forward because we're hurting everybody else around us. You know, as we was sitting up talking, and we was talking about, me and my nephew Jamar, we do our radio program every Sunday morning Deacon Harris come on at 6:30 on Sunday mornings, and he goes to 7:30. Pastor DeVita comes on after him from 7:30 to 8:15, and I come on from 8:15 to 9 o'clock, and William Jones follows me from 9 to 11. But one of the things that we talk about a lot is school board issues. So as we talk about a lot of SRO officer issues and school issues, especially the placement of the new school, and excuse me, I got some Christmas candy in my mouth, and I'm trying to swallow it. But as we talk about different SRO issues, you know, and I went to the school board meeting, and we always encourage you to go to the meetings. We always encourage you to go to the meetings. You can't change nothing from the couch. You can't change things that you know that's concerning you if you don't go to the meeting. So as I went to the meeting, and unlike a lot of people throughout my community, African-American people, you know, we wavered on this issue. We differed on this issue. And that was with the SRO officers being able to get a new contract. And my thing for it is, we're not there yet. Let's reassign the contract for SRO officers, because the main thing is the safety of all kids, not just one segment of kids and things of that nature. I think it's a whole lot of things that we got to get in place and within our own community. And I challenge every one of our African-American people, leaders of everything, to start addressing a bunch of issues, because there's a whole lot of things that's in place, the reason why our kids come to school and disgruntled. And when we're trying to correct them, I mean, I've participated in the schools in several activities. And man, you couldn't imagine some of the things that come out of some of our young people's mouths. And I'm totally there, supportive. I'm there for all kids in the crisis mode. But I'm especially there to be a light for my African-American brothers and sisters, to be able to say, hey, man, I was sitting in the seat. Anthony Cobb sat in that seat over at Centennial High School also. And he's chief. You know, I own a business that I never thought I could ever have. You know, people told me that you can have that. As one of my brothers told me, he said, Sean, he was violent. He did some things that wasn't pretty pleasing to the community, family, and all kinds of things. But as years had, because my grandmother used to say, just keep on living, you'll learn. And as he kept on living and kept on falling down and kept on getting back up and kept on falling down and kept on getting back up, now he's to his place of adulthood, and he's put down childish things and he's growing. And he said, hey, bro, he said, man, them people at Centennial didn't do nothing to me, man. He said, man, a lot of them adults didn't do nothing to me. He said, man, I was just hurt. I was just bitter, man. I was just mad. And that's what happens a lot of times. Our young people hurt. They bitter, they mad. You know, we all didn't start from the same starting block. You know, and as adults don't get it right, you know, our kids suffer from it. And so when they go to the school and me as being a volunteer, and so many volunteers and so many hall monitors and so many truancy officers and so many different other people are trying to play roles in their lives to love on them, they push us back. They bag up off of us. They address us as not as Mr. and yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and other kind of foul language come out their mouths once they get mad. We got to call it like it is, man. Stop sugarcoating everything. A lot of times we sugarcoat everything. Well, life ain't a sugarcoat. It ain't peachy cream. You know? So when you sugarcoat and you shun people from things and they get into a real world, they fall off. They can't get back up. So what you got to do is we got to keep it real. I remember one time I was over at and I'm keeping it straight 100 real. This the views and opinions of Sean, charged to my head and not to my heart, because I'm gonna tell it to you real, because sometimes our people need to hear it real and our young people don't hear it real. You know, I had a young lady and I talked about how we transitioned from Southern lifestyle. My mom them chopped cotton and my older brothers and sisters chopped cotton and had to struggle. Didn't have all the amenities. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have PlayStations. We didn't have, you know, a fancy car. We didn't have, you know, they had to go milk a cow and they had to, you know, go do all kinds of different farm style type living styles just to live and survive. You know, they had to go out and they had to pump water. They had an outhouse. So I explained this to some of our young people one day in a meeting that I was at. And one of the young ladies said, she started laughing. She thought it was funny about the history of our own sacrifices. Man, I'm telling you, and it boiled me so hot, because I understand what Mother Hattie says. You have to understand about your history. But see, we're not teaching our own history in our own families, our own homes. So our kids don't even know about that. So we waiting on Champaign Unit 4, or we waiting on District 116 to tell about the hurts and the tragedies and the triumphs that we made, the victories that we've accomplished. So I had to give her all that to bring her back up. But I had to tell her, it's two ways. It's a wrong and a right. You can pick a choice. You can either build off the sacrifices that's already been paid for you, where it's allowing you to sit in the front of the bus. It's allowing you to have an opportunity as an African-American person to be anything you want to be now. You don't have to have a separate water fountain or any of that. Or you can take a lifestyle where they got government assistance, and then you can have multiple downfalls happening family after family after family in a project living. You got a choice. Each one of us every day, God blows a fresh wind on us to be able to say, my life don't got to be like yesterday. My life can change. All the hurt that I done went through, all the pain that I done went through, it's going to be positive energy now. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a difference. And when we get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, like the young men that start putting ties on, start dressing up, don't look like these foul rappers that's putting this bad persona off into our whole world of what represent African-American people. And that's ended up landing our young men and our young women into federal prisons and state prisons, or into just into a bad lifestyle. It really hurts, because once you hurt and you get hurt and you get hurt and you get hurt and you go under what I would call it is denials and disappointments, and it just turns into excuses and people letting you down. After you go through so many of them, it's hard to recover. Once you go through a life of drug addiction, a life of being where if it wasn't even a physical rape, it was a mental rape, tearing your mind down, your body down. It's all about mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Your body been beat up on. Your mind been beat up on. You don't even have a Christian experience. You shun that away. So many times, a lot of times, we'll brush that off and we'll say, well, I don't really want to go to church because I'm not there yet. Let me ring the bell. None of us are there yet. Even the preacher that's preaching the sermon, he working on it. The people that's in the pulpit, they're working on it. The people in the pews, we're working on it. Bible class, this is a Wednesday, so I'm taping this program. Bible class is tonight. We go there and we work on it. We get some positive reinforcement so we can get a fresh wind blown on us tomorrow. Recharge the battery pack so we can fight another day. And that's what happens. So when we run into a SRO officer and we're a young person, we can say, hey, sir, thanks for helping us. And then you can encourage him to be a better person. And even when they come off wrong, you come off right. And then you do the proper procedures and you documentate it. And you say, so-and-so said this to me, and I didn't really like that. And then you go report it to a mom or a dad or a guardian or an adult. But you got it all wrote down. Or when you run into an officer throughout our community that might not be quite right, that might not have did the procedure. You know, I was listening to a radio program earlier, and a state trooper, Jim was talking about a state trooper that got pulled over by a truck driver. And the truck driver seen the state trooper going about 80, 85 miles an hour down one of our state highways. And the truck driver, it ticked him off. And he flagged the truck driver. He flagged the state trooper down. And he said, man, if I got to follow this law, why don't you have to follow this law? Because it's the safety of all our motorists on the highways, that we're all safe. Even the officer that's flying to whatever, slow it down. Get off the cell phone, because you can cause damage to a family. I was in my hearse yesterday and I seen a young lady and I was riding beside her and just what happened is I had just took me and my funeral director and we took someone to the final resting place. And as we were driving back, seen a young lady texting on the phone, and she texts for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. And so as I was able to get up beside her in the hearse, I started pointing to the back. Either you can be back there or you can cause somebody else to be back there. You can cause hurt with the family. And so many times we've had those tragic stories, texting while driving, things of that nature. And even me, and I thank the Lord I have close friends and people that say, Sean, you need your earpiece. Because my phone, as you just seen, my phone steady go. You got your earpiece? So even with me, when I'm telling it to y'all, it's reinforcement for me. It's really reinforcement for me. So as I'm regurgitating it back to you, it's reinforcement for me. And what should I do in the community as to just being a better servant and a better servant to this community. You know, one of the other hot topics that was going on in this community is the school. It's where we're going to put the new Central High School. And even in speaking in that meeting and talking to several people on school board or throughout the community, you know, to me, it didn't make a difference where the school was at. To me, it didn't. I wanted to, they had acquired some new land that was in the north side of town that can house everything. I thought that was a great idea. I thought that'd be a great look for our community as people start to enter into the city, to be able to see a new high school and to see the forward movement. Just like the city's moving with jobs and things of that nature, we're moving forward with education. And so one of the things that I thought that we should focus more on is getting in the minds and the hearts of these young people. Let's not worry about what the material building look like. I watch multi-ministries and big ministries all the time and these big cathedral halls, and we're more worried about the building. And I remember telling a city council board years ago about buildings, and we're study building, but we're not building. I remember what it was. It was building on our young and our youth and our summer youth program and giving young people jobs. And I was talking about is that we have to work on the people. If we don't have good people to enter great buildings, then it makes no difference. Work on your people. Let's invest in the people, because we need good people out here to attend great universities like the University of Illinois, great universities as Parkland College, any of our other institutions, our cosmetology schools, and as a concept, or Regis, or we need great people. We need to build on great people to be able to inspire others. And so, I mean, I'm not going to beat you up because you want to have a great building, but I will encourage you. Let's build up great people to attend those great buildings, you know, because a lot of times, I'm telling you, I attend different things. We attend different service. So we're around ushers, and we're around deacons, and we're around different people that's affiliated into the Christian realm, which we often visit. And sometimes the greeter shouldn't even be the greeter. I'm keeping it real. You know, sometimes the greeter shouldn't even be the greeter. You can't be the greeter and you're mad. You can't be the greeter at the church and you're hurt. You got to have a smile on your face to everybody, not a pick or a choose, because sometimes the person you might be entertaining might just be an angel. And so when you get ready to leave your place and your home, maybe everything didn't go right. My job as a greeter today, I got to shake it off. Got to be able to, you know, I talked to my radio program one morning about the custodian. He's going to enter the building of the church. And even as the custodian, usher in the Spirit of God that morning, so that everybody else that walked through that door, whew, man, they feel God. They feel God's presence. They feel an uplift. You know, as one of my churches I attended in my life was it's called Love Corner. Love Corner got the name of Love Corner for a reason, because it's a lot of love on that corner, a lot of love on that corner. And so as we walked in the Love Corner, and I felt the smile. You feel a fresh wind. So that's just one of our churches, but we got multiple churches in our community where you can feel a fresh wind when you come in there. I now attend Jericho Missionary Baptist Church, and so as the brothers open that door up, you can feel love when you walk in. They're helping sisters get out their car. They're helping elderly get out their car. And I love that. You know, as I attend some of these other churches, you see people with a smile. But as I attend some, you just don't. And so my encouragement is let's all greet people with a smile, because we're all connected one way or another, whether sometimes we like it or not. We're all affiliated with one person or another. And so as I thank the Lord for this program, I love coming to you guys every evening and just being able to express and be able to talk to you guys. You know, as I stated before, you know, I mean, we're all striving to get there. So when I'm talking to you through this television lens, I'm working on myself every day. working on it, trying to be better. The people around me, so many people connected with me to depend on me. You know, we just did our family reunion this past weekend. Big shouts out to everybody that had family reunions, birthdays, and things of that nature in the month of July. You know, as we had 4th of July weekend, and we kind of celebrated it. And we had a couple of things going on, and you can't split yourself up to be in two places. So big shouts out to the Williams family, because they had their family reunion, but my mom's side of the Jones family had their family reunion too. And I heard it was a great time at both of them. And I knew it was a great time at my mom's, but my dad's side of the family, I heard it was just a great time. Big shout out to my brother Craig for putting that together, man, because a lot of times we just don't want to take on the responsibility of bringing families together. And I know it's such a hard accomplishment, and we assisted my mom on putting our family reunion together. But I thank the Lord for everybody traveling, getting on the highways and byways and making a sacrifice, because a lot of times we only make that sacrifice when the time of a loss of a loved one. But when it's time to rejoice and just love on each other, we don't see the significance in it. But as we got together, and man, what a time, man. Well, my mom cooked so much food, and we brought family members together. We brought people from that stayed on the block, and extended people that we knew in the community, and we gave away gifts to people, and just loved on people, you know, and we felt the love, just three days of just loving on each other. You know, we all short, you know, and it's all families are broken and have different things going on. You know, I thank the Lord that a week before our other family got here, as a small net unit, we were able to get together and we were able to talk about the things that didn't go right, the things that we wanted to express to each other. You didn't say the right thing to me. And so this segment is you know, wrong follow you and right do too. And so we can fix our wrongs. And as we talked about it, and as we cried and hugged on each other, because we all know each other, and it just made us all better. You know, a lot of times as men, we don't like to cry, you know, but some things will break you down, you know, where you had to cry. And every time, almost every funeral, I cry. And sometimes I don't even know these people, but I feel their pain. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know all the dynamics of who this and that and this, but all I got to do is know that you loved your loved one, and I'm here to assist you through that process, you know, and whatever I can do, and just to see you going through the motions of that. You know, I remember doing a service one time, and I had a lady come from St. Louis, and it was tragic to me because it was the loss of a young teenager, sudden loss of a teenager, died from an asthma attack, man. I'm telling you, it just did touch me. And as I stood in the front of that church, and we had that homegoing celebration for that young man, the grandmother said, she said, "Mister, do you mind me taking a picture of you?" She said, "Because in all the years I've been living, I've never seen a funeral home person cry." Well, you never seen this one, because it's tragic. I love people. When people hurt, I hurt. When the community hurt, I hurt. You know, as we started that vigil, that prayer that I talked about, it was all kinds of Facebook comments about you shouldn't did it and you shouldn't do this, and tired of proactive, reactive movements, and we need to be more proactive and things and dot. Well, the people that's typing all this in, you on Facebook, when you should have been you should either been over to that family's home, or in some other young person's home or life or something, or somebody on that block, or attended that prayer. One thing about it, prayer is always in order. I don't care what nobody say. It's always good to go to a private place of prayer, because in anything you do, put prayer on it first. Just don't make no sudden movements on anything until you put some prayer on it. So, you know, as we start to move forward, even through this program, and we're getting ready to celebrate again with a Champaign-Urbana Day coming up in the next month of August, second Saturday in August. You know, let's go out there with the right attitude. It's going to be thousands upon thousands of people out there. You know, let's go in as volunteers to look out and help monitor, and let's go out and celebrate. You know, let's all participate. Let's all go out there and bring something to the table. Where if you might be at home and you might know some history on somebody, on a pioneer throughout our community, well, document that down. Get somebody to type it up. Coletta Donaldson, great person to do it. Call me. You can reach me through my funeral home number or anything. and I'll pass her information off to you, and she can get it printed up. You know, so if you know a little something about a John Lee or a legend through our community, well, let's pass it out so our young people leave the park with something. You know, and I think that just makes us better. You know, if you know of anything, that activities that's going on to help a parent, let's pass that information out, because it's all about making each other better. And when we get better, our community gets better. We start, you know, I talk to some of my young people all the time, and I say, man, you couldn't imagine. We didn't have to wait on a Champaign-Urbana Day once a year. We had Champaign-Urbana Day every year. And that's Derek Cass and DC, my man DC on the Wheels of Steel, back in the community. You know, he remembered they used to go plug up. We might go out there and start a game of 21 basketball with Chris Lipskin and Eric Smith and the Pettigrew family and so many others, you know, that participated with us. We might go out there and just start a game of basketball. And then the drum corps started doing their thing. They beating and echoing off Washington School. Next thing you know, we got hundreds of people in the park. DC plugs up, him and Joe Bowden get on the Wheels of Steel. Man, what a time, what a time. Next thing you know, the showmobile pull up, set up a theater outside on the hill, and they playing old school movies, or groups like Microwave and them would get out there and they would play live music, old Motown music for us. And we went with no problems because we checked our own people. We didn't have to call 911. What's your emergency? No, we seen the 911 emergency and we addressed it right there on the spot. We wasn't afraid. And a lot of times the reason why we need SRO officers, because we're afraid to check our young people. And then there's so many laws involved nowadays when you're dealing with young people. So now we need to bring in law enforcement to deal with the situation, because you can't even check your own kids without them saying some type of disciplinary something. Because I've had grandparents talk to me about it. Have to end up in court because you're a concerned grandparent or parent, being left with the responsibility of raising a grandchild or a great-grandchild. You done raised 2 and 3 generations off of what you know. You know, I mean, sometimes the only way we can give it is how we got it. And that's the only we based on. Change just ain't there. So then they're holding us to new laws. But a lot of times, SRO officer in there because we're scared of our own people. And so that's why they're there. We're afraid. And as we watch and we study, get desensitized by television, because after one episode and the next episode and the next episode, now we're unsensitive to it anymore. It just seemed like everyday way of life. Shootings and shootings in schools and mass gun violence and right now the hot topic is people leaving these kids in hot cars in 100-degree weather. So that's all over the television, you know. But as they bombard us with all this stuff, you got to have an outlet. And I would encourage you right now, the outlet is Jesus Christ. For me, that's what worked for me. I'm not knocking any religion, but that's what worked for me. So, and a lot of times, even with my Muslim brothers, I got several brothers that I know that's Muslim and other, you know, Hebrew Israelites and other things, you know, Catholic or whatever the case might be. You know, what I tell them, man, I'm not knocking you. What worked for you is what worked for you. But you got a structured lifestyle. See, a lot of times we don't know the blueprint. So if you don't know the blueprint and you already ain't got your priorities set up, your purpose-driven life, what's your purpose? What are you here for? What are you here for? And I always, I'm telling some of my brothers, some of my sisters, some of my friends, some of my young people, the purpose for me and the people that I attach myself with, the first thing that I totally believe that we're here for is serve God, totally, to give him honor and give him praise and help each other. Not to harbor everything for ourselves, get the biggest house we can get and the nicest cars we can, never share. Because what I understand through the funeral home business, is it the best recipes, the best friendships, the best knowledge. So many different inventions. They went to the graveyard, never shared. They call it trade secrets. You just you keep them, you embed them to yourself, and then you end up leaving this earth and never sharing with somebody. My brother Hub said, a successor with no success with no successor is no success at all. That's what he said. You got to build up a successor, somebody to come behind you and to take the torch. It's a relay race. It's a marathon. It's a long journey. It's to pass it on to the next generation so that they can be better, to build up people. As I was in my neighborhood yesterday, I seen a couple older guys going through with some young guys. They were Boy Scouts, and they were giving back. You know, got off work, maybe retired, but they were giving back. They were building up a young person, showing them some things, you know, and it reminded me of older guys that showed me what a 3/16 was, or showed me what a hammer was, or showed me what a nail or nail gun was, you know, giving back. So when I got repairs to do on my own home, or I got a repair to do on my own car, I know what to do, or I know how to go get the information, you know. And it's some of the small things can be so significant, you know. But if you just don't know, you just don't know. But we have to always reach out and say, hey, I need help. Never feel slighted to ask for help. So there's so many agencies out there, so much information out there that can make our lives much better. But we got to be able to raise our hand and say, hey, it's me over here, road number 3. It's me. I'm in need of some help. Or it's me in church. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. I'm in need. I'm the one that needs some help over here. You know, when I go to that service, and especially we went through a whole lot of different stuff. I went through ups and downs this past weekend, just up and downs. And as I went from happiness to sadness to different other modes, and I needed my battery impacted. And as I play the drums, and if you ever go witness me over playing the drums at Jericho Missionary Baptist Church, you'll see I gets in it. And but as we did that, and as we was building each other up through that service, you know, it was just so uplifting, you know, just being able to be a part of that. And so as we started to encourage each other, I went and I said something to my nephew on the organ, and, hey man, look, these people in here, they need some encouragement. Let's lift them up. And as I hollered at my man, Brother Odom on the sax, and as my buddy Chris that's on playing the drums, and we got it in, and where 2 or 3 are people that are in agreement, start gathering in God's name, man, you see the total movement, just a whole nother fresh wind that came in and on that service that uplifted a lot of people, man. That's uplifted a lot of people. And we felt so good after that service, man. You know, a lot of times we just have to go to the rock. You know, we broken. We just got to acknowledge that we broken sometimes. We hurt sometimes. But let's go in and let's connect. It's all about connecting with somebody else. All about connecting. So I know we're coming down to the close of the program, and you know, never feel that somebody can hold you back to your past. It's always God always has something new for you. You know, get ready to start that new beginning for yourself. You know, always feel that. And you know, one other thing is that, you know, as we get ready to close, you know, we've had so many tragedies, and a lot of times we always put death on older people back when I was growing up. But with so much happening to younger people, and I've dealt with so many families that love their loved ones. I mean, love them. But it's hard to memorialize a loved one when you don't have the financial resources to do it. So the community has to fill in the gap for that financial brunt that's happening to that family. And so many times with the state that we're in, you know, the state of Illinois and such financial difficulties, a lot of our families are so many financial difficulties that we're not able to memorialize our loved ones the way we want to, up to a certain bar that we want to do it. You know, we have to go against certain beliefs, and it brings on other hurts. So what I would encourage you to do, is to seek out some insurance. Seek out some insurance. Let's get every one of our, it's affordable. Let's get every one of our loved ones insured. I was in a service and a pastor, his sermon was insurance and assurance. Insurance for the living. Assurance is for when you pass away. You know, and so let's work on our insurance so that we don't leave a loved one struggling. I've heard people say, well, when I die, it ain't on me. What kind of craziness is that to leave somebody hurt and struggling? To be in an uproar. You're such a good person. They're going to miss you. They want to memorialize you, right? And for you to be in that mindset, to be able to just leave that burden and that stress on them. It's unfortunate and it's sad. It's like that article about the shootings. It's so sad. And a lot of times we can go make it rain, buy the club out, buy all the lottery tickets, all kinds of stuff that we'll spend our money on. You can get $20 or $30 worth of insurance also. You know, just make it a priority in your lives to just build each other up. Let's make each other better. Let's make each other better. So I think it's timely. I don't think there's nothing wrong. The views and opinions of Sean's. And I've sat at the table with too many people, and that made me cry because I want to do as much help as I can, but we can only do so much when our hands are tied. And so I thank the Lord for this listening audience, this television audience. I mean, so many times you guys come up to me and say, hey, man, you know, I was reading a Facebook message early this morning about 4 in the morning and just going over some things. And the young lady was saying, hey, I'm getting ready for church, but I'm listening to Sean on the radio. And they saying some good things. And so whatever's been put in my heart, and I always ask, let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be accepted on thy side, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. And I'll be able to come to you with an uplift, to be able to uplift the next person out there. Because I understand that we all are going through our own individual struggles. And life is about struggles. It's about a lot of difficulty sometimes. That's what makes us better. So as we tragically lose a loved one, or we might lose a job, God got something better for you. You got to go out there and grab it. You know, don't waddle in it. Don't worry about it. If you're such that great, such a much person, is somebody else out there looking for such a great person as yourself. You know, if you lost a relationship, oh well, you missed out. God got another person for me out there to connect with. You know, so don't get beat up. Don't beat up on yourself. A lot of times beat up on ourselves. You know, brush it off. They used to have a thing. Brush it off. Brush your shoulder off. You know, brush it off. Let's get back. Let's get better. Let's get back and let's get better. Let's get what the devil done took from us from so long ago. So I'm looking at my producer over there, and so we're steady rolling. You know, as this campaign starts to go, and that's the realm I want to go. As this campaign starts to go with Mayor Don Gerard, I want to send big shots out to Mayor Don Gerard and his family, and mom, his kids. Since you came aboard, and I know this is not going to be popular by all of our people, but since you came aboard, I've never seen so many young African-American people that said they've had direct contact with the city mayor, like you have been, and those are victories also, because a lot of times we're looking for the big victories and to happen, but just sometimes a love handshake and a smile and a hug from our mayor, that makes a difference, man. And I thank the Lord for leaders like yourself that just have compassion to the community and for the problems that we're going through, to just be there to be an ear. Because as you're an ear and God pricks your heart, then change is going to happen. It's going to come, because you cannot hear about the things that's going on within our community and God not make that change happen within you and the people that's connected with you on city boards and city government and things of that nature. So when I look at you and I'm able to go to Love Corner on a Sunday morning and see you there at a service, or Jericho, see you and mom at a service, or any other church and see you there and mom. I remember going to Love Corner just to be around my mom on Mother's Day, and you were there on Mother's Day with your mom at an African American church. Big shouts out to you, man. I sure appreciate that. So for that, I commend you. And so anybody coming up with my endorsement behind you gonna have to be doing some significant things and in our community, and some great things that they're gonna have to be doing in our community, because it's been a long time coming. It has been a long time coming for leadership like yourself, leadership like Chief Cobb, leadership like Dorothy David, and the person that paved the way, Steve Carter, for her to have the successes that she's having, the city council to be connected and making the things change in our community the way they're changing throughout our community. And I thank the Lord for everybody in city government that acknowledges every pocket in our community, not just one side or the other. Every pocket, because every one of us make a difference throughout our community. So if the West Champaign is doing great in the east, what we call it, the east side of Champaign isn't doing so well, it weighs. It's a balance effect, and it weighs our community down. And sometimes if things not going over here, it's like in the military. We put one bad soldier with one good soldier, then next thing you know, we have two bad soldiers. So it's just happened. My mom used to say, one bad apple will spoil the whole bunch. So understanding that we all connected throughout this community, and each one of us need each other, and making that happen, bringing all the parties together and making that happen and collabing together. That's what community is about, and that's what this great nation is about. And so, and that's how we build up a great nation, build up a great community, and build up great individuals to be positive role models. So I thank the Lord for you. I thank the Lord for UPTV, my man Jason over there that's taping this. Thank you for another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. Peace.